Hello everyone, I'm Linel B. Panlican from BEd 3A, and this video is all about the Chapter 11, The Philippines Assigned to Your Hands by Dr. Jose P. Rizal. And here's the summary of the Part 1. Jose Rizal, our legendary national hero, wrote an article titled The Philippines Assigned to Your Hands that originally titled as Pilipinas Dentro de 100 Años, in which he predicted what the country would look like within a century or in 100 years. It examined the numerous reasons why the Filipino people suffer from their hardship. The first part of the analysis begins with the phrase, "To read the destiny of the people, it is required to open the book of its past." This clarifies the result did not actually only foresee what would actually occur in 100 years, but rather conducted a detailed investigation of both the history and the present, drawing conclusion about what would occur in the future. The result of Spanish colonization are also addressed in this section and are summed up, which the first one is poverty spread like wildfire as a result of Spain military practices. Population decline is a hindrance to Filipinos' quality of life. The obvious outcome of the second is the native Filipino customs and cultures would fade as the population of the country reduces. Finally, with this, our very own Filipino spirit was damaged and in danger of religion with this emergence, causing them to aid Filipinos become indolence and despair. Catholicism and tradition introduced by Spaniards gradually replaced our own culture. However, according to Rizal, the oppression of the colonies will soon become manifest to the Filipino people. This section raises a few issues about what the future holds. First, will the Philippines still remain a colony of Spain? And if so, what kind? Will they become a state of Spain as the second question? Finally, will they be cut off from the home country to live freely and risk falling into the hands of other countries or joining forces with a nearby power, or will they achieve independence with or without making sacrifice? Those are questions that cannot be answered by Rizal that time.
So the question, what will become of the Philippines within a century? To a spirit enthusiastic over the liberty of the country, to those who are unconquerable, like Cagayanes, independence was assured. But for those disillusioned by sadness experience, will be prison of the colony forever. It simply means that those people who strongly wish us to free its country from its colonizer, independence was already assured, while those still live with fear and those who were afraid to take a risk shall be prison of the colony until such time. Generally, it means that you can only achieve greatest desire if only you have the will to do so. On the second part of his essay, Rizal predicted the life of the following within 100 years. For the liberal Spaniards, he said the same. And the second, the people remain. For the friars and their followers, they have progress. Lastly, for many Filipino ethics, they have retrograded. So when we say retrograded, existence will be in full reverse, meaning the Filipino ethics will have completely different fate. In other words, the misses of excess of our century or 100 years. He also stated on his essay that Filipino have remained faithful for their giving up their liberty and hope their independence, sometimes dazzled by the hope of paradise promised, sometimes by the friendship offered them by a noble and a generous people like Spaniards, because that Rizal exposed several issues that concern the country by the abuse of human rights and the lack of freedom at the press. And here's the part 3. If the Philippines must remain under the control of Spain, transformation will eventually happen if will affect the people. In this case, some governors have been trying to introduce needed reforms. However, it produced a sanity result for the government as well as the country. So the question, what risk does the government see them? So here's the three risks. The first one is likely to improve unruly. Second one is become political primers. And lastly, cannot act properly. So, supposing that we should yield to the most absurd pessimism and admit the insult, great in the Philippines but still greater for Spain. Certainly, the Spanish people does not spare its blood where patriotism is concerned, but would not struggle of principle in Parliament be preferable on the state, preferable to the exchange of lands.
The Destiny of Filipino People Whistle Essay, titled The Philippines a Century Hence Presents, compiling arguments on what the states of the country will be like in the future. However, in order to be forward-looking, one must at the first be able to look book at the country's past in Whistle works. In order to read the destiny of people, it is necessary to open the book of its path. Future of the Spanish colonization, which Rizal compared the existence of a foreign body within another that might lead to the following: Filipino being assimilated, eliminated, or encysted. They will keep the people ignorant by accumulating acts of injustices, or worse, the distractions of inhabitants if they cannot grasp what they want. But statistics prove that it's impossible for them to exterminate the Filipino people.
Hello everyone, I'm Jocelyn Laksaman Mambalagan from BEd 3A. The Philippines a Century Hence is an essay written by Philippines national hero Jose Rizal to forecast the future of the country within 100 years. Rizal felt that it was time to remind Spain that the circumstances that ushered in the French Revolution could have a telling effect for her in the Philippines. This essay presents a radical prophecy of Rizal of how the Philippines would be through the century. Rizal presented a clear idea of how our motherland will end up, a century later proposing that our country will end up in either of the three ways. That the Philippines will remain to be a colony of Spain but will be in a good terms with its captors. That the Philippines will try to cut the ties of our motherland from its captors through violent means. And lastly, it will be colonized by another country.